We're on.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Town Council FY26 Budget Work Session. So thank you all for being here today. Item 1 on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item number 2 today is roll call, and I see Councillor White is absent. Has anyone heard anything from Councillor White? Okay. Excellent. And at this time, we will we will begin the main purpose of today's meeting, which is the budget review by department.
The first department today is recreation. The budget page is 56. And we'll also do recreation revolving after, but
56.
it is an 11% increase, mainly in salaries. And the recreation director's here to answer questions and explain the budget. Go for it.
Go for it? Okay, as Steve had mentioned, in the 01, the general fund, the majority of the, is for salary just to be competitive. We actually lost an employee last year due to salary wages, and they went somewhere else. Longtime employee of 11 years at the Sunrise Sunset Center to seek a higher salary plane elsewhere. So we also had, we did the salary survey, and 2 of my employees were below, well, actually 3, including myself, were below. So there's some adjustments there, just to, again, to stay competitive. Want to retain those people because it takes a long time to train in a recreation department because there's so many different things that we do. So that's really important to keep them. We also increased a little bit under where our line, the recreation dues and subscriptions. We are now under a website with the town, so it's more consistent. The rec department's website was a different domain.org, but we now are working with Civic Plus, so now there's a dues and a subscription that's been added to that. You'll note that we didn't spend any money in the equipment purchase last year, and mainly we were freezing our budget because we knew we would hiked up in salaries. So I held off on that expense, but that is, this year I'd like to purchase some new furniture for the front of the reception area. Right now we look like a yard sale with several different types of chairs and tables, and it's just not as presentable when that's the main focus of the community center when you're coming in and out. And the other ones are pretty minor. You'll notice more of a major increase in arts and culture tourism. As you know, last year we added the art, culture, tourism into the rec budget, and they had 5,000 last year, which is this current year, and then this year they've asked for 7,000 for various reasons. Library mural that they're planning on, the flipping of the mural that they do in Pocket Park. But I know you, Justin, could also speak on the panels of the library. You see those the plain panels, as similar to what you see in the new mural at Willie Park. I believe that's what they're planning for those panels, which in conjunction with the 300th anniversary. And then the other 7,000 lights is to cover fireworks for the backyard bash. I thought that was a good line to put that in. Because of the tourism. We get a lot of tourists. Any questions on the 01? Sure.
Thank you. How many full-time equivalents does the salary line represent? How many people are?
5.
5, thank you.
wait, let me get, I have one other full-time employee, I might have been counting him. Melissa, Sam. 4, I'm sorry, 4, yes. 5, I have a full-time under the revolving account.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So the salary increases do they represent any additional FTEs, or this is just increases to maintain competitiveness?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, to be competitive, yes. Sorry, yes, competitive. We had to bump the baseline just to be competitive, and then, yes.
But there are no new people?
No,
Okay.
only in the revolving.
Any other questions for Director Jehan? Okay.
Next is page 58, which is rec revolving fund. Just to remind you, the rec revolving is self-sufficient, only all expenses, reflects of revenue, to offset it, so it does not impact the tax rate. And it's a reduction of 1%.
Okay, I guess I'll just simply ask, what was the thing that reduced it by 1%?
I would say primarily, I should have worn my glasses today, I'm so sorry. I did reduce in the payroll line. I had some positions there that just hadn't been being filled, so I cut a little bit there. Why did I put it in blue? That was, just looking at the negatives here. Printing and publishing, we went down. Bus trips went down a little bit. We just haven't been doing as many bus trips.
Yeah.
Also with the summer camp, we used to do 2 field trips.
Any other questions for the Director? Oh, Counselor Dwight.
If you would, how many employees does the salary line represent here?
The part-time payroll or the full-time?
Both.
Full-time represents 1 full-time employee. And he was hired because after COVID, or during COVID, we started doing the after-school program. And so that's a full site programmer position, and we continued it after COVID. And so
Is that
basic-
Mike?
That's Mike.
Yeah.
Yep. So that position, that program pretty much pays for his salary.
And the part-timers, you have a,
Part-time is any position,
Right.
the majority of it is in the summer. For
Yep.
summer camp program, we hire up to 45, 50 part-time staff. And then through the course of the year, through fall, winter, spring, we have sports coaches, event, programmers, instructors, all throughout the course of the year, our part-time plus staff for our after-school program. So it's the majority. And I really have to budget, assuming that, especially in summer camp, that no one's going to take a vacation. So although the number is higher than our actuals, I have to assume that they're not going to have a sick day or a vacation day. So the money's in there, but we only spend what we need.
so between 50 and 60 people
During the summer, yes.
is the part-time, yeah?
Yes, with the addition of the splash pad, we had to hire a manager, so.
Council
Your
Lamont?
bus that, your vehicles, where's that?
The vehicles, well, they've already been paid for, so there's no budget for that. The only budget is for gas, which the town just pays for it. And the equipment maintenance under that goes with Public Works, so maintenance bills. But we've have covered
Vehicles, not public works.
Right, vehicles.
vehicles, yes.
Right.
And, like When you share that with the schools or whatever, do they reimburse you?
Yes, we bill them out after we calculate mileage. Your basic mileage rate, we bill them out plus a little bit more in gas. So yes, we do generate, what's really nice system is that we're able to keep the money in town, because rather than paying for a school bus getting paid out of town, they're giving the revenue to the recreation department, which is back in the town.
Have there been any discussions about using the bus for like senior citizen transport?
One of the buses primarily for senior citizen transport. Or transport, well, for bus trips and so forth, yes. We have actually attempted to do a pick up seniors to bring them to congregate. We just never had enough sign up to make it worth a payroll position to leave the office and do that. It was like one person. And so now we have Ready Rides that that's a different organization that will pick up seniors and bring them to the center. But the one large bus that we have, our newest vehicle, is primarily for senior bus trips, and the rec department uses it when we need it.
Counselor Darn?
One last question. The bank fees, is that credit card fees? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, pretty much everyone pays with a credit card now. That line has gone up every single year.
Yeah.
It used to be so much lower because it was half check. Although we did incentivize parents this year for our summer camp to, if they came and paid in cash, they didn't have to pay the credit card fee. And we did have a lot of parents take that up. And yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If you want, since she's here, the contribution to the capital reserve fund, she is on page 55. Recreation requested 85,000 contribution. I reduced that to 25 or level funded it. Reason, because I have to, but I come to the contribution to capital reserves, I balance the entire budget to limit the increase in tax rate versus the needs of the project.
Is that for a specific item?
We had a couple. We had, one of them was to put in money for, two of them was to put in money for a playground. The playground that we have at the Leo Landros Field is 20 years old, so I wanted to start putting money in towards that for an
Okay.
eventual replacement. I got a quote, just a general quote, that could be up to a $350,000 replacement, so I'm trying to set money aside for that. It also was for the feasibility plan. We're waiting to find out what the master plan results are, and we have a whole lineup of projects that we want to do, but we want to see what the residents have to say first before we prioritize that. And it might be a feasibility study on facilities that the rec has, or it could be land use where we could build soccer fields and so forth.
So how much is currently in the capital reserve fund for recreation?
I have that number.
I'm
Again,
gonna need those for everybody else too.
Great.
223,952. 223,952 as of July 1st.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Nope, I just wanna make sure we got that.
Okay.
All set.
All right, thank you.
Next is police,
Nice job.
which is page
I
41.
needed my glasses. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good luck today.
Yes, thank you.
Have fun at the Halloween hunt.
Don't be too scary.
Remember, no real chainsaw, just a fake one.
Police.
So good morning. I certainly can go over everything line by line. You'll probably notice that the most significant increase is our salary. which is dictated by a contract. That was 96,000. There are some increases. For example, in the police overtime, we're just as salaries are climbing, the overtime rates are climbing. Things like educational incentive, we have more people with degrees, so we, by contract, have to pay that out. There's some other small increases. Training of staff development, we have to increase training per the Law Enforcement Commission. We're required to increase training every year, so we're trying to keep pace with that as the training, we're having to send people to different places and cover more hours. That also goes with the overtime, because when we're sending people to training, we have to pay them overtime. Some of the other increases are just like, for example, medical supplies. Things are just costing more. And one of the more significant increases of $4,000 was for police vehicles, which vehicle prices have just, skyrocketed. So we're just, even with that increase, we're not sure that would cover the cost of a complete vehicle, but we would have other sources that we can rely upon to make up the difference. There were a few spots where we were able to reduce some money, mainly books and publications, people are doing things on computers these days. We used to buy books and different things that people would be able to have, but we've got laptops in the cars that people can rely upon those same types of materials, so we don't actually have to purchase the physical books. But if anybody has any questions, I certainly am here to answer.
Councilor Wood?
Oh, no, my question was just about the books. It literally just going to be about the books.
Councilor Wood?
No problem.
Councilor Lonnie-Taylor?
Great.
Sorry.
How often are you replacing vehicles?
So we're on a rotation where we get a new cruiser every year, and every third year we tend to buy two. And what that does is it gives our line cars, we call it 3 years. 3 years they're actively being used for patrol. After 3 years, they usually have about 120,000 miles on them, and then we put them to either a spare car or a detail car or a car that goes to the elementary school or to the high school and just kind of sits there all day because they start to falter, and we don't want them running around 24 hours a day. The reason we do two every 3 years is we have 3 vehicles. The vehicle that I drive, we have another vehicle that one of the lieutenants on the Seacoast Emergency Response Team drives, and then we have a detective's car. That puts us on pace to replace those every 9 to 10 years. So that we keep those cars for about 9 or 10 years. They don't get used as much. They're driven by one person for a brief period of time every day, and they tend to last a lot longer because of that. So that's why we're on that rotation.
Councilor Wood?
Thank you. I have 2 questions. One, how many people are employed by the police department?
So we have 29 full-time, and then we have about 7 part-time, although we have a couple open positions for part-time that we're looking to fill. Some of the part-time stuff, we're saying they're an employee. Some of the part-time salary goes towards our prosecutor, who really isn't an employee at the station, but the money comes out of that line item and goes to pay for that prosecution. But we have 15 sworn officers and then other employees that are part of that. The administrative staff, dispatchers, things of that nature.
Yeah, thank you. And I have a question about the vehicles, because you have a line, a gasoline line, and I know that we have a vehicle account, and I'm wondering when is something in that account versus in the department account?
So we have a
Or
line.
why,
We have a line to purchase a vehicle, and then we have a fuel line,
Right.
which every time we go fuel up, we put a key in and punch a code in, and that's attributed to our budget. The vehicle maintenance comes out of a town-wide vehicle account, So that is not necessarily mine. I think that's a universal account that the town draws upon. And
Right.
They just historically look at, what we've used and put monies in for that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it's easier to build a detail rates when we have gasoline separate from everybody else's. So that's why we separate for the police.
Yeah.
They have a separate fuel line.
True.
Because we bill for that. If like PSNH, well, Eversource.
Eversource, yeah.
Needs us to do a detail, we bill the rate to the company to have the police officer up there. So it's easier accounting to have it in a separate account.
I see, okay. So that's the reason why there's an actual
Yeah.
gasoline line in the
Yeah.
police department. Thank you.
Counselor Plasko?
I didn't see, I didn't see a line for gadget in here. I was wondering where he comes.
Is it Human Relations?
We kind of put him on the animal stuff.
Animal
but
control.
He's kind of like self-sufficient. We get some donations. When you see those little stuffed gadgets, that money goes towards paying for his care and things of that nature. But the animal line item
Okay.
is some of that if we need the money for that. But currently, right now, he's funding himself.
Oh,
So-
great.
And he does seem well controlled.
He's very good. We get him a bone every once in a while, and it's enough.
Other questions? Or comments for Chief?
You want to review his capital reserve? It is a police dispatch equipment,
What page is that?
I'm sorry,
55.
58. No, not 58, I'm sorry. 55, yeah. I'll memorize that. It was requested at $29,222. I reduced that to $15,000, or level funded it. My reasoning there is, we're getting a grant to replace a big portion of it. This is more, let's put some money aside in case of a catastrophic situation. If we're gonna be replacing it with a grant, we don't need to put all that money in.
And what is the current balance on that?
210,626, 627.
And we just got a grant for 300 and,
358,000.
then that's for software.
Software, technology upgrade, records, dispatch, in the implementation, as well as significant cost with any of these upgrades is the data migration from the current system that you have to the new system. So all the records that we have, they'll migrate that to a new system.
Is that something we applied for, or what? Yeah. Oh, it's great.
We were gonna need it, and thankfully, we applied for a few different grants, and we got one through Senator Shaheen's office.
Oh, this is the one we've been talking about then?
Yeah, it
Oh.
finally, sometimes it moves slow, but it
Yeah.
finally came through.
Oh, excellent. You're moving up into Sean's territory now with this stuff.
I heard he had me, so I'm trying to keep
Other questions or comments? Any other?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you,
All right,
Chief.
thank you.
The next is environmental services. We'll start with water on page 60. We'll let Sean come on up.
I'm sorry, what page was it?
60.
60. And a reminder, councilors, if you could wait to be recognized to help Ms. Chase keep accurate minutes, that would be appreciated.
There was a 4% increase in the water for $72,305. I'll let the director explain.
So if you look down, the bulk of the increases are due to salaries. And you'll see the additional is a little increase in capital reserve. And then the bulk of the increase is from bonds, notes, and interest. As we all been working on, we've been working on a lot of projects on the water side. And those are the ones coming due for the Bennett Well and also for the lead and copper work that we've done. A couple other notable things in there, you'll see that we've had a large decrease in chemicals. That's due to we've secured some lower chemical costs for people delivering chemicals to us, and we've also found ways to streamline what we're doing in our processes to reduce our chemical usage a little bit. Electricity dropped a little bit, and that's because we're entering into a new electrical contract, which is we're seeing some savings on as well. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions.
Questions for Director Green? Counselor Dorn?
Thank you. The number of people employed by the department or by under this account?
So the water department is kind of a little wonky because some of us are 50% water, 50% sewer.
Yeah.
So it's easier for me to talk about both departments together for the water and sewer.
Sure.
So there's 8 people that are employed for the water and sewer down at the facilities, which I'm half and half, the system technician's half and half. And then we have a full-time water operator, and then we have 4 sewer, and then we have 1 admin. Out of our budget as well, we have someone we pay out of the clerk's office, and we pay a portion of the town manager's salary and the finance officer's salary.
So that is
Yes,
approximately
it's kinda, yes.
15 full-time equivalent approximately.
I would say that down there's a total of 8 employed between the 2 departments, and then there's 1 up here in the clerk's office, and then we pay a portion of the.
Oh, I see. So that
managed-
the 4 that are at the water department, that was included in the 8 that.
Yeah, yes,
I see.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a little.
Okay.
We're a very small crew, but we do a lot.
Yeah. And one more question, if I may. The inclusion of the gasoline and vehicle maintenance is because of the nature of the account?
It's because water and sewer pays for their
Because
entire.
it's self-funded, right?
Self-funded,
Yep.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Levine?
Your electric contract, when does that take effect? What's the length of the term, and do you know how much you're paying for it?
That starts in December
Yep.
of this year, and the finance officer can speak to the terms of the contract.
It's a 2-year contract.
2-year
Yeah,
contract?
and we're under contract right now, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what the kilowatt hour rate is?
I believe it's 11
It's-
cents. It's right around that range.
Well, right now, it's close to 14, but
No, the
it
future.
went down, but the
Yeah.
future is going to be closer to, it's below 10 cents. It's right around 9, 8.
8.29, is that?
Believe me, we worked.
Other questions for Director Green on this?
The next is sewer, the next page. Increase of 1% or $32,555.
So on the sewer side, you'll see the salaries of the increase. We have to increase our overtime as well. You'll also see that there's a larger increase in health insurance and retirement. The large decreases that we've seen is, of course, like I spoke before, we're going to have some lower electricity costs. Chemical costs has also dropped, one, because we've secured the chemical, low-cost chemicals, but we're also seeing some savings due to some of those improvements that we made for the thickener. So we're actually reaping some of the benefits on the chemicals on that. Sludge disposal, you'll see, has gone up. The reason for that, we're actually in a negotiation now because the sludge contract is expiring come this January, and we need to negotiate. Based on what I've received for estimates, that puts us in the ballpark of where we need to be. We have a decrease in capital reserve based on what we're looking to do. And bonds and notes have increasing because of the new bond that we coming up for the repairs on the collection system.
So the septage that you receive, I have a question on that, is it the same price per gallon or per 100 gallons that you charge for, say, like when it comes from Epping out, as opposed to what comes in from the town itself?
Yes, we charge $100 per 1,000 gallons.
For example,
10 cents a gallon,
That
correct?
hasn't been updated evidently for a while, right?
It has not, but we are very competitive with everybody else. We're not at the low end.
That's kind of my next question. How is that rate set? Do you look around to see, does the federal government or state say you don't charge this?
No, it is set by, I come to you and I recommend what the rate should be, and then you approve it or disapprove it.
Okay. Okay. And you're saying we are competitive? So,
Yes, actually, we're a little higher than most, yes.
I was looking at something,
No.
$5 million, and I was...
5 million gallons turns into
Yes,
$500,000.
gallons, not
And,
dollars.
and if you think about it, $600,000 worth of revenue to the town, to us is roughly $4 on the rate. So you can see the impact that the septage has.
The water tank, water tower.
Yes.
What's the plans for that?
We're doing the review on the water tower. We've actually done a lot of investigation on the water tower. It's part of the master plan, which will actually be completed next month, which we brought to the council. Right now, we do not have enough storage based on our volume and what we use for water and the size of the town, but that's probably our next project that should get done, and we should work towards that.
So it's on the...
Yes,
warehouse,
yes.
like, or-
Not replace,
right?
not replace. It would,
Addition to.
we'd add an additional tank and then go back and renovate that tank.
Other questions for Director Green?
Okay, all set. Public Works, we got a bunch of departments here.
Thank you, Director.
We'll start at page
Thank you.
42 of Public Works Administration.
I'm sorry, what number?
42.
42. The answer to the life meaning is
It is.
Yeah, that's right.
Budget increase of 3% of $22,995. And we'll let the Public Works Director address it.
The bulk of the increase is for training and staff development and salaries. Also, uniforms is the other big change. The cost for our uniform rental and safety equipment has gone up, so that's the increase there.
One of the things that we're having, I know Amy mentioned it, Director Reed, but when the economy's good, Public Works is the first department to see a difficulty in hiring individuals because they tend to go work in the private sector because the money is flowing in the private sector during construction. And they'll forego things such as retirement and health benefits to get the cash. I mean, we've actually had people say, we don't want to have retirement, we'd rather have the cash, and we can't do that by state law. When the economy's bad, everyone comes knocking on our door. So that's one of the things we look at.
It's hard to find people with a CDL too, and we cannot train them anymore. We have to send them to a school. The feds are forcing you to use this school, and it's around $4,000. And they have to go there to get the license. So if you're trying to hire someone without to give it to them, now we have to pay all that to try to find somebody.
Because how many retired individuals do we have now? Two.
2.
So they retired from working for us, come back part-time so they can work, we can fill in.
Questions for the Director? Councilor Blackstone?
Yeah, is this, traditionally, you get a CDL by somebody that has a CDL and you work with them and,
Yeah, I could just train you,
yeah.
use our truck, and do the whole thing. They don't allow that no more.
Is that just for cities or for everybody?
It's for everybody. It's a new
Oh.
federal requirement.
Ah,
It's just a way for them to make more money.
yeah,
You know
and
what
a
I
way
mean?
to,
And it's not, it's
reduce
very
the number of
expensive, too.
CDL drivers.
It's expensive, it's crazy, but that's what they've done to us.
Councilor Dornbluth?
Thank you. How many full-time equivalents do we have under Public Works?
We have 11, but there's currently, actually 12. I always forget about Lindsay because she's still new in my head, sorry.
So it's 12?
It's 12. We currently have an opening still, though, so we're at 11. But we have one position.
But it's budgeted for 12?
Correct,
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Councilor Ward?
I was going to ask, is there any other training that's, part of the increase, or is it specifically this is just because of the CDL?
The biggest thing's the CDL.
Okay. My second thing was the 40% decrease on advertising. Could you talk a little bit about that?
We don't really advertise so much with the papers anymore. Everything's kind of online, so
Okay.
it's a lot cheaper for us. You put something in the paper, it's like $1,500 for one day,
Yeah.
especially on a weekend.
No, good. No, I just like knowing, it's good to also know where we're saving money as well, so.
Yeah.
Director Malaki, is the advertisement for the open position?
It's for bids, it's for
Okay.
positions, and some things that require us to put it in the paper.
Okay. Other questions for the director?
Just for
I
note
have
of, sorry.
Thank you. I had one other one. You'd mentioned uniforms, and I believe you said the word rental.
So we
Is that
have,
right? Can
our
you-
people get uniforms and they get cleaned because these guys get real nasty. It's not something they want to put in the washer at home,
Okay.
so they go to a, yeah.
Okay, so it's for cleaning?
It's for cleaning
Okay.
their work uniform.
Okay.
And replacements included in that, so they, with what we do, a lot of times you ruin clothes pretty quickly.
Okay.
Water breaks.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on the ads in general, we still have to advertise in newspapers by state law on a number of things, because the newspaper guild has a very good lobbyist. So, and we're not seeing a reduction in costs there either. The less people buy newspapers, the more the advertising costs.
Yeah.
Other questions on this piece? Councilor Baxter?
I'd just like to make a comment. Uniforms are, I think, a very valuable thing, because when you see these people, right? I would like to see that extended to the rec department. I think it would, you get a nice golf tour or something, because you walk in the rec department, you have no idea, unless you know the people, and of course, most people at the rec department know the people, I'll admit that. But I think if you're gonna get new furniture and stuff, I think, talk to their vendor for the uniforms. I think if everybody in the rec department looked like they worked at the town, I think it would help.
And I know it's common in other rec departments, so I'll talk to the director.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I try to wear stuff that has the town seal more now too, and I go out so they know I'm an official.
Yeah, I think it's just from a safety point of view,
Yeah.
if something happens, you wanna know who to talk to.
Other questions for Director Mulaski on the Public Works section of the budget?
Okay, next page. Roadways and sidewalks. Increase of 8% or $45,000.
That's a tiny print.
Tiny print, that's all right.
So most of these increases are all material, product, hot top, curbing, salt, stuff that, it's just, everything's going up. It's going down. Not really changing how much we use or per se, it's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah, it's, we're increasing the numbers, but we're not increasing the volume of stuff that we're doing, sadly.
It's not to do more, it's to do just what we've been doing, covering our operational costs for taking care of the roads and sidewalks essentially.
I know I mentioned this a lot when it comes to the weather and salt, that Public Works prefers a snowstorm over a rainstorm in the winter, because they're out there more salting and sanding, because it's more dangerous with rain because it freezes versus snow, which you can plow. So that's why, and we're seeing more,
And not have to put product. down.
right, and as everybody knows, we're seeing more rain incidents than
Yeah.
snow incidents. That's the reasoning. And we're expecting the same, a higher, the same, that we should expect a higher moisture winter than in the past, and not as cold, so.
Councilor Dornbluth?
Thank you. I have a question on mosquito control. Where do we do that, and what do we use to to do that?
We do mostly larvicide. We have all the permitting in place for spray, the roadsides. The biggest thing we do spray right now is all of our parks and ball fields because of the Triple E. So that is conducted in the evenings when there's stuff not going on. But we do that. And then we do a lot of larviciding where they go to these pools, they check the catch basins, salt marshes, and they treat it when they see it. That's where you go and you look and you actually see the larvae. But that's the bulk of what we do. A lot of monitoring and testing just to see what's out there.
So it's not only spraying, it's also the actual man hours or labor
Yeah.
to do that, yeah.
Yeah. We've had this program as long as the town's, back in the day, we used to do a lot of roadside spraying. You only want to do that if you really see a really bad outbreak, because it's not as effective as the monitoring, testing, and actual larvicide. It's to get them before they become airborne.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do.
And just for the minutes, in case folks aren't aware, Triple E, Eastern Equine Encephalitis? Yes.
Right.
Councillor Blackstone.
So I was curious, down Main Street and up Grant Road there, are we putting a sidewalk in there?
We are.
Right, and what is this funding that's in here? How far does that sidewalk go?
That sidewalk goes from the elementary school driveway on South Main Street to Realia Circle. That's how far that's going.
Realia Circle, how far up is that? I don't know where that
That is a
is.
subdivision that's beyond the Pines in Durrell, up there.
Okay.
So it's from there.
Oh, so it's quite a ways up there.
Oh, it's almost 1,700 feet.
Right, well, that's great.
I think it's probably been the most requested sidewalk I've ever heard since I've been here.
Yeah, I think if you kept going up there, I mean, I walk to school most days, and, a ton of kids go up and down on bicycles, right, on the sidewalks. Because you can ride to school, as you know, from third grade.
That's a real busy little loop.
Yeah.
Everybody was cutting through the elementary school. We used
Right.
that, but it's not really ideal.
Yeah.
Councillor Lomatina.
So I don't know if this is for the town manager or the, 108, we're looking to take over potentially a good portion of 108.
We're looking at having an urban compact, yes.
And will we, will be responsible for plowing and whatever on that part?
We already plow.
We
We already do that?
Yeah, they don't.
If we waited for the state to plow Main Street, you'd have inches of snow before we came through. And we've told them that,
We actually go all the way to the Durham line now.
yeah.
We used to just kind of turn onto Bay Road and then we go all the way up to the Harvest.
We don't get reimbursed for that?
No. No, but we also don't want to hear the complaints from it.
And they won't even do the bus stops. You don't go to the bus stops and stuff, they just go right, whatever the fog line is, that's it.
Other questions on this section? Okay.
Next page, streetlights, increase 13%. Is what it is. Electricity's going up. This is not an hourly rate like other electricity, it's a flat fee for streetlights. We pay for a streetlight, this is what, I'll put the ad in. If you see a streetlight out, please let us know, because we pay for a streetlight, whether it's on or off. So, let us know if you see a broken one out. With the new LEDs, we don't see many. So,
Councillor Lomatina.
Okay. Do we have a contract for that?
we have to, that one,
That's
Eversource.
You're paying that through Eversource?
I don't think there's a separate way to get out of that one either. I think Eversource for streetlights is just Eversource.
Well, Community Power will do streetlights, the new rate that they have coming up. All right.
I'll have to double check the
Thank
contract
you.
just to be 100% sure on that. But either way, you're hooked into Eversource regardless, even under your town, with that program that you're talking about. Eversource is still part of that because they deliver the electricity.
Right, they do the delivery, but
Correct.
the supply side, we can maybe say.
Anything on a pole, a real wooden pole, they maintain and fix when it's out. The ornamental lights, we have to maintain those, they won't, like everything on Main Street.
Which is the second line item,
Yeah.
fixtures.
And they had stuff between, before PUC to raise prices between 7 and 12%. So,
7 and 12 per kilowatt hour? or
depending on
percent?
what it was, so.
Other questions on street lighting?
Okay, next page, bridges. It's not bridges, but guardrails. And it's no increase, just a replacement of guardrails that we need to.
Counselor Drumble?
Thank you. Have we ever had, I know this is probably not under this
Yep.
line item, but have we ever had planters on bridge guardrails regularly maintained?
I'd like to.
Pardon?
I'd like to.
Is that possible to,
I think
pla-
it is. I mean,
Yeah.
other communities do. I've thought like the Veterans Bridge would look nice with planters coming
Right.
into town.
right? Would this be the line item that it would fall under, or is this strictly construction, maintenance, repair?
It's really maintenance and repair of the guardrails to protect the vehicles when
Yeah, okay, so this is,
Really, that's
yep,
all.
okay.
I think it's something we can look in for to next spring. I don't think there'll be that much of an expense.
Well, it's mostly
Yeah, the planter.
the watering
Yeah.
expense.
Okay. Counselor Blackstone?
So does this, so the new thing we're doing on Swamp Road there, Ash Swamp Road, is that's going to have guardrails, right? The new
Yeah,
bridge
the-
replacement?
The bridge rehab
Yeah.
over the Piscasset.
Is that part of this, or is that a separately
No,
funded thing?
It's part of the overall rehab project.
Right, okay.
Guardrails went through that.
Any other questions on this page? Okay.
Next page, buildings and grounds.
So we're building grounds, really the only changes here are some it's maintenance, some maintenance costs, and then you have your salaries. That's what the increases are.
Okay. Questions for, sorry. On buildings and grounds, Counselor Dornblit, and then we'll come
Thank
over to
you.
Counselor Blaisberg.
Thank you. So I find building and grounds a little confusing because it has so many different items in it, but I assume it's a required account that we have to have the way it is, or is this something that we can work on to change? One of the reasons I'm asking this
Yeah,
is because we have the police building maintenance, police generator in there, and we have the gasoline for the police under the police department, and I find it difficult to, to find out, what's the actual budget for each department? What belongs to each department? So I think it would be, for me, or electricity for the police, it would be helpful if that could be somehow cleaned up a little bit. This is just a general comment, not something that I need you to respond to, but
I will tell you, probably 6, 7 years ago, the council at the time wanted the opposite. That's why
Thank you.
it was the opposite. They go, well, we shouldn't have it all in everybody else's because it's a facilities department that does this. The facilities should have their own budget. So
well, I appreciate the facilities having their own budget. That's
Yeah.
perfectly reasonable. But the if it's a cost item under facilities, it should be a revenue item under facilities and a cost item under the other department to make it clear, in my opinion.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did have it the other way until
Yeah.
probably 6 years ago.
Okay, so maybe that's a conversation we can
Yeah.
have at a future meeting, because to me, it makes it much more difficult to find out what are the actual costs for the police department, for example, or whichever other. I'm not picking on the police department. It's just jumping out at me. But it would be a lot easier to ascertain that way. Also, if I may, thank you. We have heating oil lines. Are those all running under one contract that we have, a general contract that the town has? Yeah,
With the
okay.
school.
So it's all the same price, okay.
Yeah.
And same with gasoline and electricity?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Thank you.
Counselor Glasper?
So I see the senior center maintenance and Beach Street maintenance are both, near 100% increase, and where a lot of the other maintenances have not increased really. I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, Beach Street is because they're using the building. Is that they weren't using it as much
The building-
before?
Beach Street's actually, that building's getting older and older. There's been a lot more maintenance to do.
And
Yeah.
we actually own it now.
Things that are happening.
We didn't own it in the past.
Okay, and why the big increase for senior center maintenance?
We had to take that over. That center was being fixed by HUD, or whatever those people call it now, I forget.
How's it? It's still HUD.
HUD. And now we have to take care of it. They're not helping us with it at all. It's all on us.
Okay,
Even though it's kind of there, we have some agreement with them
all right,
for the use of that property.
thank you.
Counselor Lamatino?
Just again, back to the electric, is the town hall and all the other buildings, they under the same electric plan that coming up in December?
We couldn't wait for.
I know,
power.
yeah,
We can't, community
I've
power
been-
wasn't ready for us. We had to get our contracts in place.
I've been waiting till after the election is over and the budget is over before approaching everybody.
Yeah, but our contracts are in place, so next time we go out.
It'd be good to have a discussion anyway.
Well, we can't break contracts either.
Okay. Counselor Lamatino, we appreciate your dedication to community.
It's a little-
Whoops. Okay.
Other questions for Director Maleski on this page? Okay.
The next page, cemeteries. 1% increase, mainly in full-time salaries.
Sir?
Gotta bury them.
Questions for Director Maleski on the cemeteries? I do have one. Looks like the proposed, this is full-time salary, full-time salary, 22,442. Is this actually full-time, or is this a part-time
It's a
gig?
full-time position split.
Okay.
Percentage is here for the April to about now, and then they're working on the buildings. It's in another, it's in the.
Buildings and grounds,
Buildings
the
and
rest.
grounds.
I see,
So it's a
okay,
split position.
okay, okay. Other questions on cemeteries?
Okay, next page, vehicles. Increase of 4% or $11,500.
Just the increases are the cost of stuff that we have to purchase and requirements for testing and maintenance. The biggest thing there is with the fire department. There's a lot of stuff on the apparatus that has to have an annual test, and those have increased for pump testing, aerial testing, hose testing, certified vehicle every year. So
And just to sort of preempt Council Donplis' maybe question, the reason why vehicle maintenance is in its own budget, at one point in time, there was a mechanic on staff that had its own department. I think it was the year before I got here that they removed it and was contracted. But it's still accounted that way. And I don't disagree. I think there's a lot of items in our budget that we need to re-examine our line items. For example, engineer, communications, we in the middle of the year, we find a place to find it. So, and it happens everywhere, every 10
Right.
years or so, you gotta realign your budgets and have the numbers there. And then for the next 3 years, everyone said, well, why'd that number go there? But it's just a natural thing.
questions or comments for Director Mulaski on this page, the vehicles?
We're now going to skip to page 59, which is solid waste. Solid waste is a quasi, we call it a special revenue fund, because it's theoretically supposed to be funded completely through our pay-as-you-throw system. It is not. That is why there were some changes in the auditor's reports this year. But we're seeing an increase of $56,200, mainly due to our contract with recycling.
Questions for Director Mulaski? Councilor Blackstone.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment that I think along with some of the others' comments, it would be useful to maybe have a line that's not a line item, but an addendum or whatever on these that would indicate revenue. So it'd be interesting to know, what is the sale of those plastic bags?
Yep.
You know, and so how does that,
I agree. Our revenue report for
and
the
the
budget needs to
septic,
get more
the
in-depth.
septic revenue,
Yeah.
you know, I think it'd just be interesting for us to, because we're used to seeing revenue and expenses,
Yeah.
you know, and we only see expenses here, we don't see revenue.
Councilor Lamatida.
When I go to the transfer station, I see all sorts of stuff in the recycling bin there. I see everything, plastic, bottles, beer, everything, boxes, everything. If we did a better job at recycling, or monitoring what goes in recycling, could we save any money there? No?
There's no market for that stuff. If we separate.
I mean, if it was purely glass and purely, we
There's no
really,
market, there's zero market for glass.
Where?
A lot of the plastics now.
There are a number of communities now that say don't throw your glass in recycling, because it can, it's fine to go into the solid waste now. It's just there's no markets for any recycling.
Councilor Lamatida.
so, okay, may not be politically correct, but is it worth continuing recycling and just have everything go to solid
I've
waste?
said it before and I don't want to get in trouble, but I feel like recycling is fiscally irresponsible. If you look at what that costs per ton versus what it would cost to just throw that away, I wouldn't do that at my house. It's just, I wouldn't do it.
But I can-
It's crazy.
And I understand the finances. I can tell you politically, it wouldn't fly, because that's what happened in Newfields. Newfields tried that. We loved it, because we were making tons of money because all the people were coming over here to recycle. But
We were making bank, but auditors freaked out about how they were. What happened? Because it stopped.
Yeah.
They were like, what happened? And I'm like, I'll tell you what happened. Newfields brought it back.
it was nice. I mean, even like the governor had to come over with his recycling bin to drop his recyclables off at our recycling station. But it's the political, and I think Hooksett had that debate recently. I mean, for a community similar size of ours, and political, they just couldn't get rid of it politically.
Our MSW is like 77, I think,
Yeah.
a ton. And we're talking a couple hundred.
And recycling is literally sitting at Waste Management waiting. It's not being dumped into the pits, but I can tell you it's sitting there waiting.
Director Mulaski, I think we've had this conversation before. Is one of the issues that everything that folks are putting in recycling, since you said there's no market for it, it's not being recycled? Is that is that an accurate statement or is that an inaccurate statement?
I have pictures on my phone if you'd like to see them of what they do turnkey when there's no market and there's no room. They can't just keep piling it up on the ground. And they bale it.
Yeah.
And it goes to the landfill. And if someone's paying that extra, like, it's crazy. But there's no market, they can't ship it, they've got to put it somewhere.
So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like we're spending over $400,000. We're spending $500,000 a year to throw things in the garbage?
Sometimes,
Okay.
sometimes.
Okay. Thank you.
That's the reality.
Okay. Town manager.
And trust me,
Yeah.
I think one of the things we ought to look at is our solid waste program is going to be upended within 5 years. Because we're not going to be, they're going to force us to go with automatic collection systems, which at that point in time, our pay-as-you-throw system goes out the window because you can't tell whether or not the bags are Newmarket bags or not. So we're going to see a complete revamp of this whole system that I would rather wait to do a revamp when that comes in, because we're going to lose a big revenue source by having, or we're going to have to come up with a new one because we're going to lose the pay-as-you-throw system.
I see.
So we're going to have to figure something out at that point. I know, and we're not the only ones. Other communities are beginning that discussion as well. So.
Okay. Other questions for Director Mulaski on this page? Okay.
We can go to the capital reserve funds again.
55.
Yep. We'll start with the first one, Public Works. It was requested at $123,765. I level funded at $75,000. That's basically, it's equipment like trucks and
Questions for Director Mulaski on this one? Counselor Drobler.
Thank you. So what were you including in the 123,756 and how will you accommodate the reduction in the manager's proposed budget?
We won't be buying a pickup truck.
Okay. And will you be able to maintain service without the pickup truck?
We do what we can do. It does affect us from time to time, but we will do what we have to do.
This
Thank
may be a
you.
question for the town manager. I know that one of the things that one of the goals was to move some of the capital reserves sort of in the general operating budget. Is that part of what's happening here, or is that something else entirely?
this is something else entirely,
Okay.
but we will begin looking at leases will stop coming from capital reserve funds and go into the operating budget.
Okay.
As we switch to more lease payments versus one-time payments for vehicles.
Okay.
Problem is, we had so much in capital reserves. We had enough to pay lease payments, but not enough to cover a vehicle. So we need to start looking at lease payments as an operating cost and not a capital cost.
Counselor Blaisberg.
And what's the current amount in that fund?
Are you talking about Public Works
Yes.
Department?
Yes.
Yes, 205,976.
Thank you.
The next line is building improvements. We did not increase that. We have enough in there. Roadway improvements, we level funded at $250,000 contribution. We have level funded that for years at $250,000. We're doing a lot of roads. We're trying to get as many roads as we can, and we have a program that we do. But the fluctuation of oil prices depends on how much we can do.
And then I think my question would probably be the same. Can you help me, talk to me about sort of the rationale, like why is this a capital reserve as opposed to just like a budget item?
Sure. Capital reserve, there's there's a number of places we do roads from. First, we do it from capital reserves. We put money in there. If we don't spend it all, it stays there so we can have more money the next year. We have money from the $5 motor vehicle fee that we charge you. So that's about another 200 change. So we do about $400,000 in roads a year. We also do some, we'll roll a road in if we have to do a water main replacement. So we'll have some there as well. Not a lot, but that's what we do. This is mainly we'll go in, overlay something, and just to prevent longer preventative maintenance.
And is this largely because it's need-based and we don't necessarily know when these things are
Exactly.
going to arise? So we've got this
Yep.
just in case?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Awesome. Thank you. Other questions for Director Blaski on this page? Okay.
Well,
Oh,
I have a
Counselor
question.
Blackstone.
You mean on this page or on this line item?
On this page.
I want to talk about sidewalks.
Yep, we're gonna go, going through all of them. I'm good, that's,
Okay.
Is
yeah.
that the next one?
The next is stormwater management, which was requested 100,
Page-
same page.
Oh, same page.
We're
Okay.
still doing the capital reserves. He's
Okay,
got a bunch of them, so.
Thank you.
It was requested $110,000 for an increase of $85,000. I increased it to $50,000 or $25,000, or increase it $25,000. Plain and simple, I can't afford the 110 over the overall budget. The engineer can discuss why 110 was requested.
The 110 was requested primarily because we're getting into the years of permit compliance, MS4 permit compliance, where we need to do the catchment investigation to remove illicit discharges. So this is planning for when we do find those, that we can address and eliminate those illicit connections. And it also covers stormwater asset management planning. We're working on the development of a stormwater infrastructure asset management plan, which will identify some capital improvement projects to address as our infrastructure ages and degrades. So there was a request to start putting some funds aside for that as well. So this 110 covers both of those two requests.
Questions for town engineer? Councilor
But
Blackstone.
the budget, budget has sufficient money for this, what is it called? The stream that's flowing with the poop in it. Moonlight Brook, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, the investigation of the stormwater infrastructure that discharges to Moonlight Brook is proceeding with the Clean Water SRF funds.
Right.
So that's going ahead, that's not part of this.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It still satisfies MS4 requirements, but not part of this request.
Other questions for town engineer on this one?
The next is sidewalks, which is the last line item in that, which was requested 125,000, and I level funded at 20. Again, it's affordability, I just didn't have.
Councilor Blackstone.
So, I don't know if we have this ability, but I would like to reinstate the 125,000.
You have every ability to do that. That's the point of this session.
Because, I don't know if you remember, we had one of those meetings about what the town should be, and I remember at that time, the three of us talked a lot about how we want Newmarket to be a walkable town and how we think, the walkable community. And people walk a lot in Newmarket. I walk all over the town, and I see people everywhere. There's kids ride their bikes on the sidewalks, and I think if our goal or our vision for the town is to be walkable, we should walk the walk, right? And I think we should fund, if you ran the sidewalks all the way up Grant Road, there's a number of developments further up there. You'd see a ton of kids coming down that sidewalk on bicycles and stuff in the morning. And it would reduce traffic. I think there's a great need, maybe not a need, but I think more and more sidewalks make more and more people walk around, and reduces pollution. It's part of transportation kind of thing. I would like to make a proposal, I guess, that we increase the 20,000, maybe, I don't know, the 100,000 a round number, but that we implement our vision, which is to make it a walkable town.
So, Councilor Blackstone, if you'd like to make a motion to, if you'd like to put a motion on the table, we can entertain that. We just need a specific.
Okay, I move that we change the budget from 20,000 to 100,000 for sidewalks.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to change the amount for capital improvement from 20,000 to, what was it, 120,000?
Okay,
100,000.
100.
100,000 for sidewalks. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Councilor Mattina. Any discussion from the council on whether we think this is a good idea? Councilor Glazebrook?
Not actually a conversation on whether I think it's a good idea, but this is more for like repairs and things, right? In this fund, and then the last one we talked about, no?
No, it's both. This is more bigger projects, capital.
Okay.
The other one's more repairs, smaller projects.
Okay.
Councilor Lamattina, and then we'll go to Councilor Dormer.
So, the charrette that we just had, one of the biggest complaints was maintenance of sidewalks, especially around the riverfront. Does that come out of here? Where does the maintenance of the riverfront walkway come out of?
So this is kind of intended more for our sidewalk extension plan and the roads that were identified as part of that. That was this request. That did not include sidewalk around the riverfront.
Is that covered in a different budget that we already went over?
Sidewalk maintenance comes from the Public Works. Plus, you got a problem, we got an issue with, if it's Shanda Park sidewalks, those aren't our sidewalks, those are technically Conservation Commission funded sidewalks, which I agree, and I think that's the most ridiculous thing, but we don't have authority over Shanda Park. It's a conservation park.
Who?
Conservation Commission.
Public Works does
We would do the work, we get the funds from them. And you also remember that part of that is not even ours, that they maintain, that the private entities maintain it.
Oh, I'm confused. I'm going to need Barb to help this at some point.
Well, I don't understand.
Again, there's a complaint about the maintenance of the riverfront walkway, and
the town
so maintain it, but only out of the Conservation
funds.
Commission's
Correct.
budget, not this.
Correct.
And the conservation, okay.
That's because it's not, and I understand it's a town entity, and I would love to take over the park, but conservation, it was created by the Conservation Commission, and there's laws about Conservation Commission parks. Like, even to use it, we still have to ask the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
It was set up that way, I have to go by the laws that are there, so.
Okay. So I'm done with my discussion
Yeah.
on this particular motion, so.
Okay. Councilor Dormer.
Thank you. How many feet sidewalk would this, would $100,000 represent? And what would the increased cost in sidewalk maintenance be, if any?
Sometimes it depends on how much drainage work has to be done.
Yeah.
Typically, you can do about 1,500 feet,
For,
100,000.
okay. So that equivalent kind of to the extension that we are pursuing at the moment.
Yep.
Thank you. And an increase in the annual sidewalk maintenance budget, would that be necessary in order to accommodate the lengthening of the sidewalks?
We wouldn't necessarily have to do that presently.
Okay.
We could do it with what we have.
Yep. Thank you.
Councilor Ward.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, would you recommend that we increase it now, or do we do some research first on how much? I mean, I do agree we should increase the walkability of town, but, given, how tight some funds are this year, would Public Works prefer to do some research on how much 100,000 would actually go, like, given an actual idea of, like, where you would want to put it first, or would you want the money? I guess I'm asking, do we plan first, or we put the money in first?
We have a sidewalk plan.
We have,
Oh, okay.
So there is a plan. I reduced it
Right.
for overall budget
Got it.
limitations, not, would I love $100,000? Absolutely.
Okay.
I would do more sidewalk, but I have to look at the bottom line.
Right.
So,
Councilor Blackstone, then Councilor Glazebrook.
I just wanted to remind the council that we just spent $250,000 for sidewalk maintenance equipment. So, we have brand-new, state-of-the-art sidewalk equipment, and we're buying new international trucks, which is what they put the snow into.
Councilor Glazebrook.
If we don't
Councilor Lamattina.
take the money from somewhere else, what is the impact to the tax rate? If we added
it's
80,000?
finance, you should have that up.
A few pennies and I don't have it, I'm sorry.
The budget should have, you should have the council budget ready.
It's like,
Hold on.
Yeah, and, I guess a follow-up to that
Yeah.
would be, like, for somebody who has a $600,000 home.
I don't know, that would be a little bit more.
The problem is like, it's in read-only for me.
Okay, hold on, well, I'll get out, but it should have been a council line already in the budget, and it wasn't, it's not in there. $0.04,
Be 4 cents
4 cents on the tax rate.
per thousand.
Yeah. I'm
Councilwoman
out.
Matino.
Bill, I'm out of the budget, but I need to get back in.
That's fine. Well, the answer is 4 cents.
Thanks.
I guess I'm not done.
Councilwoman Matino.
How much is in that capital reserve fund right now?
Just a second, I gotta flip back. It's, we're talking about roadway improvement?
No, the
Sidewalks.
sidewalks.
Right, but there's no, okay,
Sidewalk has its own line.
no, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. If there's a budget line, then there's gotta be a capital reserve line.
There should be.
If not, we got a big problem.
61903?
You show me what- That's not helping me. That's, this is the capital reserve funds, so it's a trustee trust funds, and I'm looking for that specific line. I
So
see
can you get,
roadway improvement, which is 200
it's not roadway.
279. Let's see what it says specifically sidewalks.
Carol always has that report, Bill.
We may be looking under, not, hold on a second. I mean, I'm looking at our investments fund.
That's not, it's the budgeting.
Maybe I don't understand the question. Is the
How much
question-
is in the capital reserve fund for sidewalks? There's a sidewalk capital reserve fund. We should put money in every year. We should know the number.
Right, and so that's why I'm giving you what I have for, and I'm wondering if it got lumped in together with, as an investment with roadway improvement.
It shouldn't be, Bill.
You know, that,
Should we move on to a different subject while we?
Yeah, Bill, if you want to go upstairs, go look. Go ask Carol where she put it. Bill,
Carol has nothing to do with this.
she gives me the capital reserve report every month.
Right.
And I didn't
that
have
comes
this month.
Directly from what I'm looking at right now, our investments.
We got a bigger,
They're
okay,
done by trustee trust
council, I
So-
apologize. We got a bigger problem, and we'll solve that and get back to
Okay.
you.
So procedurally, we've got a motion on the table.
Yes.
Do we need to table this and pending more information?
Well, technically, you're not going to be making, we can add the money, but you're going to be making, you actually have to amend the resolution on the next council meeting.
Okay.
So we can get that number for you, and we'll give you we'll put the $100,000 in a form of motion for the next council meeting when you have to do the resolution.
Okay, so we've got a current motion on the table that's been seconded. So procedurally, what
You
do
can,
we do with this?
if you withdraw it, we can just do it at the next meeting.
Okay.
But we'll
Okay.
have that $100,000.
Counselor Blackstone, would you like to withdraw this motion at this time?
Yes, I would, thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you. Do we need to vote on that?
No,
Okay,
if you just agree to it, that's fine.
okay,
But $100,000 would be in the part of the motion.
okay. Thank you very much, folks. Okay.
Okay.
Other questions on this line item? This capital reserve fund?
We are going to switch to fire department, so we'll ask the fire chief to be here, which will be on page 49.
49.
I'm going to ask the finance director to give me the budget because I can't get in.
Oh, sorry.
Sure. It's in,
I'm out.
I have a same problem everybody else does. I don't have my reading glasses.
Some of these pages are really
They-
hard
they-
to read.
Page 49? Yeah, page 49.
Director Malasky, I have a question. So your proposed was 825, 832, and the town manager's proposed is 695, 36, which is a significant difference. Can you tell me what the 825, 832 represented for you?
It's the salaries, the biggest one's the part-time, the per diem people. We have to operate at a minimum of 2 people on the ambulances. During COVID, we could have 1 license, so we could use somebody that was just like fire service. Now we have to have 2, back to 2 licenses. So you could see what we actually spend. We're real busy, real busy.
Yeah. But
Okay, town manager.
my rationale was, we also had 2 vacancies in the full-time positions. That made up in the part-time side, so we didn't need to double it up by having an increase in the part-time plus the full-time. The savings that we had in the full-time covered the part-time.
Okay. Other or questions for Director Malasky? Counselor Ward?
Yeah, I just see that ambulance expenses went down 33%. Could you explain a little bit about that?
So we have our own paramedics now. So that expense is paying the paramedic service from the hospital, which is actually going away
Right.
in the near future. We have to collect those fees, and that's how we get them their portion when they order on call for us.
Okay. And, well, I know the town manager mentioned this, but I want to make sure everyone knows. The Exeter getting rid of its ALS services is not going to impact us, correct?
It slightly, but not a big deal for us. We're not in the same situation that
Got it.
from time to time, we may have fallen for that, for them, we require them. We have an agreement with McGregor next door. We have an agreement with Exeter Fire and our own, so we have other options.
Okay.
Counselor Glazebrook?
All right, but yeah, so the town manager gave his rationale for part-time having vacancies in the, does that make sense to you? Will that proposed amount not really?
The full-time staff works Monday through Friday, and then you've got, this is also covering the nights and weekend shifts too, so. But we're a lot more busier, I can give you the percentages we're already ahead of last year, and it's only October.
So you think that without, even with the 2 vacancies filled, that you would use 480,000?
I think I will spend all of that and then some, if we stay on track to the way things are
Okay.
going now. During the COVID, we saw a little decrease in the call stuff, and now it's back up where. But we don't really have, we're not a volunteer department anymore. Everybody's either getting an hourly pay or there's no rework. There's no more of that call department per se. We currently have 1 full-time person in-house that just started literally a month ago. So we did fill 1 of those positions, but yeah, we're trying to get the per diem people and also trying to hire a few more paramedics so we could have a paramedic on all the time. And we have a paramedic on about 5 days a week for a 24-hour period. So there's about 2 days that are not covered by a paramedic on our shift from our department. The other thing with everyone who's in ALS, we're hoping we might be able to get some agreements and help provide a paramedic to them to get those revenues, so our revenues would increase with the fire department. It's something me and Steve talked about when this all came about. So that's the other thing we're hoping to maybe pick up some more paramedics and be able to provide that service to other surrounding departments.
We saw it as a plus, that we have the ability to provide a paramedic service that everybody else will be losing.
Yeah, you mentioned that at the
Yeah.
beginning.
But I will have to, that's part-time salary line. It's, you see what we spent last year, and I don't see it being any different this year. I really honestly don't. But that's the big change here is it's uniforms, and so But
There-
for a community our size, those guys are busy. We're busy. They're real busy.
And for a community of our size, our budget is extremely low.
So just to put it into perspective, you see the request here. Lee Fire does not run an ambulance, and I think their budget's $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Strictly just flat, they do not run an ambulance at all. Greenland, much less busier than us, 1.3. Just to put it in perspective, I'm just trying to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we do very, very well with what we have.
And Greenland and Lee are half our size.
Like, we're gonna do 1,500 calls, they might do 600, but they're not running an ambulance. That's like huge, there's no revenue coming in for them. You know, that's strictly just a fire truck going off. Not.
What other, okay, then we'll go back to you.
So just like in the 2024, if we get to a point where the money has run out essentially in this line, you'll be able to find, we're not going to shut down.
Well, Stephen,
I will have to, I will do it.
Yes, okay, all right, thanks.
yeah, we have, because we gotta cover the call. We're
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah,
not run the calls.
Right.
Yes, okay.
Oh, that's so funny.
So we're going to train him as a paramedic?
No, not me. No, I will find the money. I will actually go out there.
No, that's what I thought too. I'm like,
You don't want that. You don't want that. But yes, we'll find the money.
Yeah, okay.
I think you do an excellent job.
Thank you.
Counselor Dornblick.
Thank you. And so we're using part-time because of the hours that people are required to work and because we're drawing from other departments
What
around.
we're doing is we're essentially hiring you working full-time in Durham, and on your day off, you come work a day for me.
Yeah,
And then Steve works the next day from Portsmouth.
and that's more cost-effective than,
No
than,
benefits, no
yeah,
retirement, it's a big savings to the town.
yeah.
If we didn't, we'd actually have to hire full-time firefighters, which would then switch us to the 9 to 5, well, 8 to 5, whatever schedule, to the 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, 40 off schedule, which is much more expensive, because then you need many more firefighters to then cover this.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Other questions on this page for Director Mulaski?
I think you guys should put my request in this. I'll hire more paramedics and make you more money.
Again, I didn't reduce the budget because I didn't think it was completely needed. I reduced the budget because I also have to balance the bottom line. And that's it's not a fire department budget, it's a town budget. That's my job. Councilor Dornbluth, stand up.
Oh, Counselor Dornblick.
Thank you. It seems like there are quite a few moving parts that we're confronted with. I mean, there's you're suggesting there's an uptick in calls that we have to respond to, and there's also a possible impact of, or there might be more revenue opportunities as well. I'd hate to amend the proposed budget in order to respond to something that's not quite concrete enough yet, but it would be interesting and helpful, I think, for us as a council to have a conversation about how we can restructure the department into the future and respond to the opportunities as well as to the increase in calls. So maybe with a little bit more information, I would feel more comfortable making an adjustment here, so that we're not acting on possibilities, but maybe possibilities with some numbers attached to them.
Town manager.
Funny you say that.
Respond.
I requested a proposal from Municipal Resources, Inc., which is an independent group that they did our efficiency studies and they do agency studies to study the fire department. Because one of my big concerns is not only how do we restructure, but the transition from a volunteer department to a quasi full-time department or full-time coverage. The study was going to be, I believe, $60,000. So I didn't go forward with it because I didn't have the money. If I could get that money, we could get the plan in place for next year to what we need and because you're right, the fire department's not the same fire department it was 10 years ago. But we've been operating that way in the budgets and every other way because of budget constraints. So if I were to ask for anything, I definitely would ask for that money to do the study. My biggest concern is one of the, we've been lucky that there's been no, and this is due to the leadership of the fire department. A lot of departments, when they have call, they'll have an uprising. Something happens and everybody turns their radios in. Especially, and we're so lucky for a community our size, which is, in New Hampshire, a small city. It's 10,000 people, we're bigger than 3 cities. We don't have full-time staff. I mean, we have 2 full-time firefighters. If I were to ask for anything, I would definitely ask for the money to do the study to get us in place for next year.
Councilor Blackstone.
Yeah, but I think it's fundamental, my understanding of what he said, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, is this, we're used to seeing, in business, we're not used to seeing costs, we're used to seeing the whole thing, right? So he's saying, I have revenue, but we don't have a revenue line. We don't see revenue. But that's the same, and that's the same.
State law doesn't allow us.
The state law doesn't allow you to present it that way to them. It doesn't allow you to present it that way to us. And it's the same with waste management, right? And with the septic fees and all that. I think it would be interesting for us to see, the whole picture. What's coming in, what's going out. Why is it we're only seeing it?
So if I might, you get a revenue budget every single month. And there's no reason that you can't look at that very carefully and determine pretty much what you want to know. And not only that, those revenue numbers are the same as the expense numbers insofar as they are cumulative. So the answers are there. We do revenue projections as well. The problem is that it's not necessarily as sophisticated as anyone would like, but the information is, we could provide it if we needed and we had the prep time to do that. We could definitely do it.
I think it would be
And it's part of our
useful to have something in here, some note, this is the income of these lines, this is, because it's to be able to say like, well, I could get more revenue if I had this, so we have no idea if that's true or not, right?
But to be fair too,
I'm not trying to be critical.
No. He doesn't get the revenue. We get the revenue. It does not go back to the fire department. And that's by state law, the only ones that get that are recreation, solid waste, cable, water, sewer.
Enterprise funds,
The
special
enterprise.
revenue
Right.
funds.
But it comes, okay, but still,
It's a revenue. There is a revenue
Yeah,
there, but
yeah.
it's not, like, for example, the town clerk, she makes all the revenue. But she doesn't get it doesn't offset her budget by motor vehicle registrations. It's a town,
Right.
yeah.
Councilor Ward.
I was just going to say, I feel like we're getting a little off track, and maybe we should try to get back to the rest of this real quickly, so.
Other questions or comments for Director Mulaski on this section of the budget?
To do the study?
Yes, the 60,000. I'd be willing to make a motion for the 60,000 to do the study, to switch to full-time. I agree, we're fairly large, a large, small town, I guess is the best way, and it would behoove us to know if we need to switch over to a better model, or a different model of fire department safety. So yes, I would make a motion to approve that 60.
Why don't we do it this way? Instead of making motions, we can poll the council now and then include it in a motion on the night of the second reading, so then we'll amend the budget by
Okay.
160,000. So poll, just unofficial poll would be, is it okay to go forward with the $60,000 additional? If it says yay here, then we'll put it in the motion with a vote, would be that,
Okay.
the next meeting.
Okay. Well, my unofficial opinion would be yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying, Madam Chair?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so. Counselors, any initial thoughts on the 60,000? This is not a vote, this is just
You want to do an
your general
individual
thinking
poll?
about it. Counselor Lamatino?
Yeah, I'm for it.
Counselor Gleisberg?
Yeah.
Counselor Dorman?
Yes.
Counselor Blackstone?
Sure. If we hit this, I'll trade it for the sidewalks, right?
The sidewalks are still in there too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Counselor Ward?
Yep, that was it. Yes, so yes.
Yeah. Okay. Back to Fire Department Capital Reserve Fund. They have a capital reserve?
55.
Yep, they have 51, they requested 51,000, I leveled at 51,000. Again, this is, we have enough money in there to pay for lease payments, but not enough to actually buy the equipment. So we've been taking lease payments out of there.
Questions for Director Malasky on the capital reserve budget?
What's our, I do have one. What's our next big vehicle that we're gonna have to replace?
The aerial,
The aerial, which is significant, that's a,
a huge increase from when we bought it, like double, what,
which is,
almost 2 mil.
yeah.
Can you explain what an aerial is?
It's the big truck with the big ladder on top.
Okay, thank you.
And when you get to the $2 million stage, that's a bond, that's not a,
And you have to order it 3 years ahead now, so you have to be thinking, for an aerial it's 3, for an engine it's 2.
Okay. And then the most recent one we purchased was an engine?
It was.
Yes, okay. Counselor Lamatino?
Oh, I'm set.
Okay. Other questions for Director Malasky? Okay.
the next is the library.
You're so on top.
Which is,
What page is that?
That is page 57. Just to let the council know the library rules. Council has only authority over the bottom line of the library. They cannot determine, you can reduce the budget by any number you want, but they have determined, the library, Board of Library Trustees has the authority to move those funds around.
Okay.
So
What, can you say that again?
you only have bottom line authority on this one.
Okay.
The library trustees can move, say if you reduced, I don't know what the line, I apologize.
No, that's fine.
If you reduce one by $50,000, they can go in and reduce another by $50,000 and put that because they're in charge of programming.
I see.
Versus every other budget, you have authority over bottom line, over line items.
Okay. So regardless of whether we do.
57.
Regardless of whether we do an increase or a reduction, where that money goes within this is the purview of the library.
Exactly.
Understood. Okay.
And, yeah, we're a unique library trustees as well, that we are appointed, not elected, because we're a mill library, that when the mill's closed, they deeded it to the Board of Selectmen at the time, which ultimately becomes the council and the town manager. So it's a strange, we're not completely like every other library, but we're not that much different.
Okay.
There's they requested $66,000 increase. I increased it 44. It was mainly due to healthcare numbers that were corrected after the budget was submitted.
Okay.
And I know there was a question that we received ahead of time about healthcare, and it was a census change that individuals were hired, I can't say positions because of HIPAA laws, that they went from single to family plans, which increases our costs. So that's mainly the increase right there.
Questions? See like a few. Counselor Ward.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just looking at I believe it's the water line item. It went up by 900%. Could you
I think that was a typo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to,
What Steve has is.
Yeah, well, yeah, they requested 14,000, I gave them 1,600, which is their actual budget. There was a typo in the budget.
okay.
I see.
Yeah, that would be concerning, yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Lamatina?
Yeah, can I get a breakdown? How many full-time employees, part-time employees do we have?
So we have 3 full-time employees and we have 7 part-time employees.
Do you have count of how many clients that you serve? How many people have cards that are active card members?
Sure, I have rough figures on that, and also we have daily foot traffic. Not everyone has a card, but I would say at our last estimation that we have about 3,000 card holders. And to keep in mind though that several of those, not to amplify it too much, but a lot of families just have one card, so it could be the mom has a card, but then 4 kids and the dad uses it too. So it's kind of hard to get super accurate.
And of those 3,000, are they active or
Those
just
are
a
all
total?
active. We did a recent culling, making sure everyone was up to date, and also cards expire every 3 years, and then people have to recertify their town.
Go ahead.
I forget what I was going to I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to ask here.
Other questions for the library?
Oh, I remember.
No, Counselor Lamatina.
The insurance plans that you have, is that the same as the town employee
Yes.
insurance? It is.
Counselor Vice
When you said that the insurance amount went down because of a recalculation, or what happened
Sorry.
there?
There was, our rates were different from what they used.
Okay.
Yeah. They're accurate rates versus estimated rates.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Like, and then you see the typo on it for the electricity.
Other questions for the library director? Sometimes they trickle in, Tom.
They do, I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now we're going to go to community development. We're going to start all those. Which is, first we'll start with code enforcement on page 30.
Oh, this is item 4, yes?
Sorry,
Is it item 4?
what's item 4?
Town manager remaining budget lines.
Oh, yes,
Yes,
sorry.
okay, thank you. Which one?
Code
What page?
enforcement.
What page? Sorry.
Sorry, 30.
Sorry about that. I
That's
just wanted to
okay.
make sure I was on the right budget items. Right agenda item. Okay.
0% increase, or $50. It's just lab testing. That's the cost of sending things to a lab if need be.
I do have a quick question. It looks like you requested no increase except for the $50. Is that the assessment that, in general, prices are not going up for the work that we're doing?
Correct. So
Okay.
the only thing that we need, we're just doing more testing for septic. We're finding a lot more issues out there, so that's what we're
Okay.
just being more visually.
Okay. Other questions on this one? Counselor Drumblin.
Thank you. The salary line represents how many FTEs?
It's part-time, so it'll be the code enforcement salary and also part of the land use administrator salary. So the planning budget and code enforcement share the salary of the land use administrator.
Do you know the percentage on each
It's
account?
50-50.
50/50, okay.
Split.
And just part-time salaries is sometimes either there's a, if the code enforcement officer's on vacation or if there's a conflict of interest, that we have to bring somebody else in.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I see.
Other questions? Okay.
Page 34, planning. Again, zero, $271 increase.
Sorry, what page?
Sorry.
4.
I mean, to go back, I do have a question. How many full-time, did you say how many full-time employees in code enforcement?
Just one, the code enforcement officer. And then
1.5.
1.5, and then, well, yeah, full-time, excuse me.
Yeah.
1.5. So the land use administrator is that half, and then the other half is under planning.
And then, same question, how many full-time salaries are in planning?
1.5.
1.5. Other questions on the planning page? Okay.
Back to page 55 for capital reserves. We're going to hammer out the rest of them because this is under this capital improvement committee does recommend certain amounts for these. So we're going to go down to, let's see, requests from the Veterans Memorial Trust. They requested $2,000. I agreed and level funded at $2,000. 300th Anniversary Expendable Trust, it was $2,000. I upped that by $3,000 to $5,000 because the party's coming. So we were going to put some more money aside. We already went over recreational facilities. Master plan was requested $10,000. I level funded at $10,000. Telecommunications requested $20,000. I level funded at $20,000. And finally, the compensated absences expendable trust. That's where if somebody retires, we can pay them their money that is owed from a fund versus hitting their budget. And I level funded at $20,000. So it was, as we went over all the capital reserves, it was requested $827,985. I proposed $543,000. And if we go with the amendment, it'd be $643,000. So still a reduction over requested, but slightly, about $100,000 over last year's.
Questions on any of the other capital reserve items? I had one quick question, just on McAllen Dam, still appears to be a capital reserve fund, but it looks like it's empty.
We still have money in there. I think it's tiny,
Okay,
but it's, we keep it open in case we have to do something.
okay. All right,
Okay? So now we're going to hammer out all those other little budget, all the other budgets in the book. We're going to start at page 25, which is the town council. And I think what we'll do is we'll just start.
thank you very much.
There is no increase. It's $12,150, which is training, salaries, and general supplies if needed. Hearing none.
Town manager, what does the training budget cover?
Annual conference, anything you need that you may want to go to.
Okay,
So we keep it in there. By charter, you're supposed to attend training once a year. So,
Online training counts.
online training counts. So, ready?
Okay.
Do you want to just say hold if you want to stop and we'll just go through?
that's fine.
Okay. Next page, town manager, 6% increase, $15,629, mainly in salaries as well as training.
How many, oh, sorry.
Questions for the town manager. Counselor Glazebrook, and then we'll go to Counselor Dorn.
So the communication services.
Telephone.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Telephone.
Your telephone?
Everybody's telephone.
Oh, everybody's telephone. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why it's called that, but that's the way it's always been.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Counselor Dornbluth.
And the training line is proposed to go up by $3,000. Do you have a justification for that?
Actual expenses. Travel's costing more than it was.
And this is the training for this department exclusively?
Just me. Me and Wendy, if she goes to training.
Okay.
So it's my conferences. By contract, I have 4 that the town has to send me to, and then there's optional ones.
So the FTE included here are 2?
Partially, 2 partially, because some of my salary as well comes from water and sewer.
Okay.
Because I also oversee that.
All right, so the FTEs are then,
Well, I'm 30% water and sewer.
I believe that's what it is,
Yeah. So 70%, 1.7%, because 30% comes from water and sewer for my salary.
thank you.
Okay, other questions on the town manager budget? Okay.
Okay. Next page, finance, $7,784, or 3% increase, mainly in salaries. Bank audit, we saw a reduction in costs, which is good. We've been able to help them do more things in-house. That's why a $5,000 decrease.
Okay. Any questions on this one? Counselor Dornbluth?
Just the FTEs represented by this account?
Again, 70% for the finance director, and 1 full-time, because HR is in a separate budget now. Am I correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Next page, human resources, increase, this is the largest budget, increase of $182,923, mainly insurance costs. We're seeing an increase in New Hampshire retirement contributions as well, $89,299. That's set by the retirement board. We have no authority over that. Health insurance, we anticipated I think we're looking at 20% increase. It actually only came in at 7%. So 25,582. Does it equal exactly? No, because there's census changes in there. We cannot put health insurance in each department because of HIPAA violations. You can't have a single person department and determine what they receive for health care. So you're not allowed to see. But if I get a family plan, or if I get a 2-person or a single person, you have to be able to say.
Okay. Counselor Dornbluth and then Counselor Ward.
So the health insurance of other employee benefits, are all of the town employees included in this line, or is this only, which departments are included here?
All general fund.
All the general funds?
So water and sewer is not.
Water and sewer is not, they pay their own.
And the library?
Is in their own.
They pay
Is in their own,
as well.
okay.
Counselor Ward.
I'm thinking this is probably another typo, but HR training staff development, 480% increase?
That is correct.
It is correct, yeah.
Oh,
And
it's-
don't be thrown off too much by the percentage level, because it's normally a low dollar figure,
Okay.
and it got jumped up because, do you want me to?
That's, yeah.
Okay, it got jumped up because we were looking at doing a salary survey, and a salary compensation survey. And we're
Okay.
trying to do that for the same reason that you heard earlier, is to maintain competitiveness with the
Okay.
community.
All right. Yeah, no, sorry, just, again, if I see it in 3 digits, I'll
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, understandable.
Counselor Martinez.
Didn't the state increase what they're contributing to the New Hampshire retirement?
No.
They increased, but you were.
They have a minimal amount, but they also increased the rates.
I'm sorry, increase the rate, what do you, how much?
What's the breakdown now? Do you have the retirement breakdown?
I don't, I'm sorry.
Hold on.
That's not important, but, okay, I was under the impression that the state was increasing the amount that they were contributing to New Hampshire retirement.
True, but then they also increase our rates that we have to contribute as well. So
Okay.
it's not as, yeah,
So they're giving us more and we're paying them more.
exactly.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions on the HR page? Okay.
Sorry. Next page is
Next page.
town clerk. Town clerk tax collector, down 8%. Not as many as elections. It's an odd number year, so only town elections.
Questions on the town clerk page? Budget.
We're going to flip 2 pages to welfare. It's a 15% increase that I'm recommending. The department requested a 54% increase. This is one of those departments where I have to, no matter what happens at the end of the day, we have to spend what we have in there. I mean, if somebody requests assistance, we have to provide them assistance. I don't think we didn't have quite the height of 28. I don't think we're going to be there again for the rental assistance. Sometimes it's a certain cases that are, it's a one-time case versus a overtime period. So that's why I said, yeah, we can go up another $5,000, but I didn't think we needed a complete $27,000 there.
Questions or comments on the direct assistance budget? Okay.
Next page, assessing. It's contractual obligations, mainly software. It's a $14,000 increase. We're going to see a $10,000 increase in our software.
This is, sorry.
Counselor Dornbluth.
I'm sorry. I apologize. This is software that we have in-house, or that we are paying a fee to?
We're paying, and it's an online system that we use. They have the data. I mean, we have access to our data, but
Yeah.
and it's a system that we've been using for a while. Just a few years ago, we upgraded, and their costs have been increasing steadily and significantly in the last couple of years.
Is this software tied to the contract that we have with the assessor?
It is, well,
Or are we using it independently? I mean, is it in our own contract with the?
it's our
Our own
contract.
contract.
Right, but your question is trickier in the sense that we have to have it in order to have this contract with our assessor. Because we have to supply that application.
Town manager.
Thank you. Are there other software programs out there? Yes. Usually, though, you have to go with their own, with a separate company. Municipal Resources can use other software programs. However, this one is the most cost-effective. Problem with software today, it's not, you don't buy software any longer. You
Right.
subscribe. And they always bump up the subscriptions because they got us over the barrel.
Yeah. It's just a very high percentage of the overall contract.
Other questions or comments on the assessing budget?
Just a comment too.
Town manager.
This was actually a savings for assessing from when I first started. We actually had a staff person plus software. So when we coincidentally, like my second week here, the individual said, I'm retiring. We called Municipal Resources, and so that's why we have a contract assessing now, which many more municipalities do.
Other questions or comments on assessing? Okay.
The next, legal, next page. 115,000, just to reflect our, we're, again, very lucky that we have them on retainer. Most communities pay it by hourly, and I can tell you probably that would be double, at least. So we have a good deal with our current legal counsel.
Okay. Questions on legal? Sorry, there just seems to be quite a few.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next is Conservation Commission.
35.
Budget's $5,343, no increase.
Any questions or comments on conservation? My only comment is this does seem to be fairly inadequate if we want them to take care of the sidewalks.
They have other funds
Okay.
that they can use.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Richard Shanda revolving fund, and yeah.
This is plain administrative costs, not their reserve funds.
Okay.
Next page is, while it's called economic development, it's actually should be we're gonna be probably re-signing this as communications. This is where the money's coming for the communications.
Okay.
Individual. In the past, we did use it as consulting. Before the master plan this year, this is where we got the money to do the economic development plan. And we didn't really need it this past year because of the master plan being done. We didn't need the consulting. And that's why I was like, well, let's use that for our communications. So that's what, it's going to be reclassified.
Can I ask a quick question? So this is a communications. I notice there's some communication like line items in other budgets. What's the difference? And I'm not picking on finance, but just for example, there's a communications service in finance. What's the difference in what this would be versus what communication line items like that would be?
Communication service is your telephone.
Okay.
And we don't
Which I
use it.
think you had-
Yeah, we don't say telephone because it also is fax, also
Okay.
those kind of items that
Thank you.
it's more than just that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Right, we need to reclassify items.
Okay.
The next, any question?
Oh, any other questions or comments on communication? Thank you.
Next page,
Okay.
debt service, up $755. You can't do anything about that. We have to pay our debts.
Any questions? Councilor Lamick?
So, I guess this would be the place, what is our current overall amount that we owe?
Not a lot, very, very little. I can get to you in 1 second. Bill just sent me the report last week.
Manager, I appreciate that you're able to have all these things at your fingertips.
Yeah. Last week, Bill?
I mean, I can answer the question.
Oh, you got it in front of you? Thanks.
I happen to be doing some analysis. So, if we're looking at the total for the community, it's 21,600,000.
That includes the school, right?
But that does not include school. We don't have school debt as our responsibility.
But the town.
The town meaning, the water fund, the wastewater fund, and the general fund.
Okay.
So
That's the total debt.
So the general
Debt.
fund's debt, and this is as of the end of the prior fiscal year. It's just an easy way to sum it up because of, when we put all this together for the audit, and then
How much is general fund debt?
general fund right now is $2,300,91.
How much debt are we allowed to issue?
Oh gosh, that's,
I think we're at 50.
altogether,
Yeah.
I mean, we're at 0.15% of what we could issue.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very responsible, let's put it that way, relative to our debt and our debt management, generally speaking. Water fund is at 0.88% of what it could issue, and then, of course, wastewater, there's no limit. So that's by state law, to my understanding.
But I believe, you're right, and I believe the school is at 45%.
I'm sorry, I don't have.
Yeah, it's something because of the schools. Yeah.
But they, yes, because of
Yeah.
the facilities.
Other questions or comments on principal debt? Okay.
Next page, interest on debt. Going down, because we're paying off our debt.
Questions, comments from the council on interest debt? Okay.
Next page, IT, increase of $15,432. 8,000 is software licenses, 5,000 is, 9,000, well, roughly 9,000 is licenses, roughly 6,000 is maintenance, so it's software costs.
Questions, comments on IT? Okay.
The next is, we still call it Channel 8, we're going to be changing this to communications. Increase of $9,903. Part-time salaries that need, that's a big portion of that due to an adjustment that, to keep the people who are filming our meetings on board, as well as equipment purchases.
Questions, comments on the Chalet budget? I do. So this has currently not been rolled into communications, but for next year's budget it will?
Actually,
Or-
I'm sorry, I'm not contradicting you, I just want to make sure we're right on this, because we have a media services manager.
Portion of it, right?
In the system, our ERP system, we actually call it media services. So, that communication,
$20,000 will come from economic development to offset the salary of the
and
individual.
the other will come from media
Correct.
services, is that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for
Sure.
clarifying. Other questions or comments on this one? Make sure. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to flip it all the way to page 50, which is our property and liability insurance. We're anticipating a 5% increase. And while it's called insurance, it's actually we self-insure through a trust, a pool, because insurance companies don't insure businesses that send people into fires and have people shoot out.
Okay. Okay, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Questions on this one? So I think you just answered it, but just to clarify, so so insurance is handled by the town?
No, we have a pool with other municipalities in the state. It's Primex is the name of the company.
Okay.
We contribute, everybody contributes, and if there's payouts, they pay it out through there. It's not covered by an insurance company per se.
Okay. But as opposed to, I think, being handled sort of in the department. So the insurance for the police and the fire is handled like.
Yes, all
the
town
budget is-
insurance.
okay.
All liability insurance is one line.
Is central,
Yes.
okay. Okay. Other questions on this one? All right.
Next page, emergency management. It's no increase, it's $22,500. I'm the emergency management director. It's basically, if we need it, if there's an emergency, this is where we get the money. Like,
So a small emergency.
small emergency, flooding, like if I had to do PR stuff, a lot of COVID money came through there because we didn't, like to do the PR stuff. If I needed to buy signs, we went through there.
Counselor Drumblett?
Is this a required account? Do we have to have it as a separate account by state law?
Yeah.
Okay, Counselor Blackstone.
Is there a formal definition of the word emergency?
It's when, it's either the director determines as an emergency, or the governor, or the president.
Okay, so if you say it's an emergency, it's an emergency.
For example, we may have a local emergency.
Right.
A fire, took down a block, that's a local emergency that we would declare that, versus a statewide emergency, which is a blizzard,
Right.
versus a federal emergency. Okay. Next page, these are called grants. This is what we contribute to different organizations in the town. The one that I reduced was the Newmarket Handheld Association. They haven't requested their funds in a number of years. That is a fire truck that sits in the old fire station over here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I don't even know if it's an active association, so we reduced that to 0. Everybody else was level funded.
Any questions on grants? I just had a real quick question on the 26,000 to coast.
Yep.
And what fund are we, what's the grant fund that we're contributing to them?
Their operations. So we contribute for the provider of the bus service in the community. And it's a minimum of, when I was on the board, we set in a minimum amount that every member must pay, and it's $26,000. So we're at the minimum.
Councilor Drumblett.
And just to, so this basically pays for the service that used to be called Route 7, that we receive. It's an on-demand service, and the utilization of Route 7 has increased quite substantially over this past year. So I believe we are getting our money's worth for those 26,000. Whether it should be called a grant or whether we should consider, at least in our minds, rethinking that as a service provision, that's a different conversation, I guess. I have a question, however, not
First,
pertaining
thank
to...
you for that clarification. And no.
Not pertaining to COAS, but to the Veterans Memorial. Who does that grant go to?
There's a Veterans Commission that you appoint. So they put it into a fund that will offset. They want to create a bigger memorial to honor the veterans in the community. Currently, we have the bandstand, which is, I believe, just World War II. Was it up to World War II? But they're trying to create a bigger memorial.
Okay, so this is supporting an association versus the maintenance of the existing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Councilor.
I was just curious, who owns the building that the hand truck is in? Right, okay.
Other questions on the grants bill? Okay.
Next page is social service grants, an increase of $6,000. This is what we provide to other nonprofits that provide us services. It's pretty self-explanatory. The big changes are Rocky Community Action by 2,000, and I believe Cornerstone VNA, they did not have a request in last year, Visiting Nurses Association.
Questions or comments on the social services grants? Councilor Lamatina and then Councilor Glazebrook.
Just, they have to actually apply for this,
They do.
right? You don't automatically
Nope.
give it. Surprisingly, Free Healthcare didn't put something in.
Yeah.
Councilor Glazebrook.
So kind of in the same vein, the Oyster River Women Aid just requested a little less.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. We asked for their audited figures. We asked for the number of people they serve in the community. It's a pretty extensive process.
Okay.
Yeah, we just don't hand it over. Okay. Next page, patriotic purposes. That is Memorial Day. Flags, everything for that.
Questions on patriotic purposes? Okay.
I think that is it. So,
Excellent.
overall, if we, at the next meeting, we'll have a amendment for $160,000 with $100,000 from the sidewalk capital reserve fund and $60,000 to fund a fire study.
Okay. Councilor Lamatina.
Can we go up to like page 23, just talk briefly about revenues?
Bill?
Okay, so use of the fund balance, we're taking $500,000 out of a fund balance. I mean, what was the total fund balance that we had here?
Fund balance.
For what?
The town fund balance.
The latest fiscal
Oh,
ending year.
hold on.
You gave me that memo, so you should have it right there.
Sorry.
Oh, God, this is so small.
Thanks, I'm trying to keep up. Let's just see.
I need two different sizes
You
of
know what I'm
glasses.
gonna ask.
Yeah,
Can we
you
use
know.
more?
I want to say it's like, well, tell me. the
We're at
exact-
8% the last I saw. Our rules
Yeah.
are, we have to be between 5 and 10%. I try to use that figure as to reflect what we contribute to capital reserve funds. The reasoning why is if we have to reduce it because we don't have that much, it doesn't impact operations. It impacts, basically I say, okay, we have X amount in surplus, which that's what used to call fund balance. I can put that into our savings accounts, which is our capital reserve funds. I don't use it for operations, so I don't have to reduce items.
Okay. Oh, Councilor Glazebrook and then Councilor Drummond.
Can we have those separated for the, like, different motions?
Yeah,
so that it's
absolutely.
not
Yeah,
Both or no?
yeah.
Okay.
Counselor Dornbluth?
Let's say the fire department projected costs were to be $150,000 more than anticipated. Is this the place where it would be derived from?
Yes, we'd have to get permission, but yes, that's where we go to. Emergency situations, the state will look at our fund balance, and we can withdraw from there.
Okay.
It-
Counselor Longton?
Well, would it be possible to get from the town clerk a breakdown of how many people are actually getting exemptions and the amount of exemption?
I sent that to
There was
you.
some counts, but yeah, how much of it is actually being exempt? In other words, for elderly exemption.
200,
Yeah.
we had the war service credits actually went up to, since you increased it, we used to budget 175,000, we had to increase it to 245,000.
And all of that's actually being utilized?
Yeah. That's why when we discussed the exemptions, I kept saying, if you
What's the
increase the
impact?
exemptions, that's the impact. We have to make up $70,000.
And where do I actually see that?
That's in the revenues, that's also on that front page, or on the bottom. That actually is not reflecting it, because we set the budget before. We gave you the budget before that we set the tax rate. It came in at 245,000. That's war credits on the bottom.
War service.
Yeah. So that number is actually $245,000.
And what is the elderly exemption?
I don't know that one off the top of my head. We don't, because we don't, exemption's different than credits.
Right.
Exemptions, you don't go through that because it's all the values of the property,
It takes
the value off. So it's not like we don't raise the money by saying, okay, we have to appropriate this money, we just never tax it.
Is there a way to find out what that total?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't impact the budget though.
It does in a sense that it's lowering the taxable.
It does, but we don't have the ability during the budget process to change the exemptions. That's during the exemption process.
Yeah, again, I'm just trying to get an idea of what the actual.
Yeah, I think I provided it to you when we were doing the exemptions earlier this year.
Yeah, I think so.
That was in those memos. Yeah.
You want to answer the question about the fund balance, sorry.
How much is in the fund?
So the fund balance, as we ended the year, was 3.3 million. And then what we, just to answer the question about the retained fund balance, we're looking at 2.8 million. And that's part of that, when they set the tax rate, that's part of that. That lets us know, are you living within your means in terms of reserves?
That can be like 8 to 10%.
And we're at 8.2 this year.
5 to 10% is our
Yeah,
policy.
5 to 10, right.
And we're at
Policy for the lowest is 5.
Other questions on this page or other questions around the budget in general before we adjourn?
So technically, I'll just say this.
Okay.
We have room to take the $160,000 that you're asking and withdraw that money from the capital, from this fund balance, because I know the finance director never likes it when I say this, because we're at 8.2%, and we're right in a happy medium spot that would not impact the tax rate.
Oh, great.
Which again, the finance person never likes it when I say that, but I feel comfortable that we'd have enough at this point.
Other
We haven't
questions?
touched it in a long time.
Other questions or comments?
I guess.
Counselor Gregg? Yes.
That conversation will not be happening the way that we currently have this set up, right? We're going to just discuss whether or not.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then I could just say, look, instead of impacting the tax rate, since these are one-time items, we'll withdraw it from fund balance.
Okay. If there are no objections at this time, I will consider us adjourned. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.